If you are a theater, entertainment historian, or just lover of the great age, you've heard of the Borscht Belt and Perry Como. But if you're not old enough to remember either of those things, well, you're going to learn about them from our next guest. Welcome, Lynne Jassem.
Thank you.
You are my first lesbian tap dancer.
There's probably about 2 others.
And they're related, or they're just you in different costumes?
Yeah, different hats.
Yeah.
No, we've just found each other, but tap dancing does attract more lesbians than ballet or jazz, for instance.
Yeah, and so you grew up in New York City.
Yes.
And when did you find out that you had, you know, the talent for tap?
When my mother pushed me into dancing school every week.
So what was this, Mama Rose? I mean, what?
Pretty much. That's the first part of my show, is about my mother and the mothers, because they were a lot
Formidable.
to deal with. Yes.
Now, the name of your show is From Como to Homo, but then the subtitle is a story about moms.
Oh, yes, a story of the 10-year-olds juggling, being on the Perry Como show, dealing with a stage mother, mortality, and tap dancing.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And gender dysfunction. So much.
There's a lot going on there. Well, let's go back to your history. You started on the Borscht Belt when you were how old?
I was probably about 9 on the Borscht Belt.
And explain to people who are uneducated, what is the Borscht Belt?
The Borscht Belt was in the Catskills, and it was where all the Jews went to vacation. And they had little knockers. They didn't clap. They just banged these things on the table. And you went from hotel to hotel to hotel, and you stayed in a little place at night, and the kids were there with all the mothers, and it was quite festive. So that was really my breaking in, but I loved performing.
And so
Absolutely.
how old were you when you first took to the stage?
Well, when I was 3, my mother had introduced me to Al Jolson.
The great jazz singer.
Al Jolson, who, does anybody know?
Yeah.
Okay, so wherever we went, my mother would say, "Get down on your knee." And I would get down, Mama,
yeah.
You know. So she was a rockette, my mother. So
She danced at Radio City Music Hall.
Yes. She was the little one in the wings. It was a very long line. So she was very frustrated, and she wanted to be on stage, so she pushed me into it.
All right. It does sound like Mama Rose and Gypsy.
Yes, very much so. I mean, all of those mothers were intense.
So at the time, did you love it or did you hate her for it?
Well, I was such a tomboy. You know, I couldn't wait to get home and put my hair in braids and put on my jeans and go out and play with the boys.
But I imagine when your mom was pushing you onto stage, you were supposed to be the girliest little Jew girl in the world.
I thought I was.
Yeah.
I thought I was, but they kept saying, God, she would be good nanny, get your gun, and she's so tomboyish, and I thought, what are they talking about? I've got banana curls and a little hoops dress and the Mary Janes, I had the whole thing.
Yeah.
But they could see.
When did you realize?
Well, I knew something was askew by the time I was 3. And I came to see it more and more, but I was in show business. So I never discussed anything, never talked about it, like got a couple of my little girlfriends off on the side. But it was very verboten. It was the 50s.
Right. So even if you knew you were a lesbian, you couldn't talk about it.
Oh, no.
Well, so this show explores all of that, and
Yes.
you do tap in it, and I believe we have a scene from it, so we're going to take a look at From Como to Homo, and then we're going to talk about the great Perry Como.
And it's a good day for moving along.
You have such great potential, but we really must do something with that accent. What accent are you talking about?
Yes, it's a good day. How could anything go wrong? A good day from morning till night.
Suddenly I could do anything. And folks, here I am 57 years later. And I'm in show business.
Yes, it's a good day for shining your shoes, and it's a good day for losing the blues. Yes, it's a good day from morning till night.
So all of those adorable little girls were you?
No, actually, one was Patty McCormick, the blonde with the little
yeah.
bang, and then Patty Duke, who was my nemesis.
So, go ahead.
Okay.
So, why was Patty Duke your nemesis? Was it, I mean, was it the hair thing?
We were the same age. We looked a little bit alike. We had the same energy. And she was at every audition I was at. I mean, there was a steady cast of kids going to the auditions, but she was always there. And I felt like I was being stalked by Patty Duke.
What was she like?
Monster.
Yeah.
Well, you know, she had a very difficult life, so she wasn't a lot of fun. She kept to herself.
Have you been in contact with her as an adult?
No, I wanted to be, because I want to say, I have a show with you in it.
Right.
But
you should let her know now. I mean, Patty Duke's...
I know.
Yeah, I mean, she's still around, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, talk to us about your debut, your television debut on Perry Como.
Well, you know, back then it was live TV.
Right.
So if you made a mistake, that was it. But it was incredibly exciting, because they would call us out and you'd wait for the red light to come on the camera.
Just like you do now on TV.
Yes, and you would go right into it. And you had to be very well rehearsed. And Louis Dupron, who was a very well-known choreographer back then, was our choreographer. And we were thrilled that Louis Dupron was doing this. And then every week there was a different celebrity on. Tony Bennett was on, and Roy Rogers,
Yeah,
and Dale
because Perry
Evans.
Como was the deal then.
Oh, yes. It was the #1 show until Perry Mason started to push it out, that bad Perry Mason, bad. So it was incredibly thrilling. The mothers all kind of at each other. And we were treated very much like adults.
Now, the show From Como to Homo that you used to talk about your life and coming out and all of these issues, do we actually have a clip of you on the Perry Como show? Do we see you tap dancing?
No.
It must exist somewhere.
It does, and I tried to get that, and they would not release it to me.
So you know it exists?
I do know it exists.
Have you found it on YouTube?
No, only things from the Perry Como show, but not the Comoettes. I thought, wouldn't that be great to have a clip of that?
Yeah.
But I asked them if they would loan me something for my birthday, and no, and I'm doing a show, no.
Yeah. So in our last few moments, talk to me, what is it like now, after a long career, tapping, being an out lesbian? What advice would you have to these, you know, young baby tap dancer dykes coming along after you?
Well, my feeling was always that you had to do something more than tap, because my tap dancing always told a story. But if you have enough variety in your tap, you just have to stay with it, and you have to rehearse every day. You got to get your chops, you know? It's just like a musician.
Yeah, do you still tap?
Yes, have to.
I mean, every day?
No, I don't know it.
No, but I mean, is it still something you love, or was it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And in the show, when I do actually tap dance, I feel like I've come into my own completely. And I used my solo shows used to have a lot more dancing. Now this one is very much narrative, with tap dancing interspersing between the scenes.
How do you think entertainment has changed since those Borscht Belt days?
It's gotten a lot more real. Comedy has changed immensely. It's become it's much more accessible to women, and it's gotten a little mean. Comedy these days is a little mean, you know, and very sexy. And it was big. Everything was big and overproduced. And it took me a while to make that transition from hello, you know, to being a normal person.
Right. So it's more intimate now.
Yes.
You can't just go out there and tap. You have to go out and tell a story.
Well, people do tap, and you know, the lovers of tap will watch hours of it, but I always needed to do something along with it.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing the show. I guess we can call you the lesbian Bill Bojangles Robinson.
Okay.
There you go. We've been speaking to Lynne Jassem about her show From Como to Homo. I'm David Perry, the host of 10%. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.